I think we have to remember that 80% of the world's population does whatever it does because of what it believes in. And that's enormous. That means that the faith communities of the world actually constitute the largest civil society movement that planet Earth has. And there is tremendous force for impact and change in that. And we all know that over the centuries, the energies of world religions, including some of them today, are not always positive, sometimes work with destructive forces, but we have a tremendous power for good. And the other very important factor on the rise in the world, with its impact or potential for impact on the environment, both for damage and for making things better, these are the cities of the world. So in an interesting equation of city plus faith, we get the answer, which is pilgrimage. And pilgrims, as they move around the world, perhaps represent the potential of the individual to change his or her lifestyle, which may well be the real secret of solving the world's environmental problems. And the city, if it takes up its responsibility to become greener and more sustainable, has a tremendous potential as well. In Israel alone, we have 90% of our population, more than 90%, living in cities. The city of Jerusalem is a destination, a spiritual destination for 3 religions, and Haifa is a destination for the Baha'i religion, and that's without looking at smaller destinations, which in their own right, Mount Meron on Lag BaOmer, Uman for some of our ultra-Orthodox communities that go there. There are Jewish pilgrimages within Israel, Christian pilgrimages within Israel, Muslim pilgrimages within Israel. It was my privilege to be at the start of this movement, which led to the launching of the global network of Green Pilgrimage in the city of Assisi last November, at which I was proud to be appointed ambassador to the network. I think this was in recognition that the initiative came from Jerusalem, and if we have a Jewish expression that from Zion shall come forth the law, I think perhaps this is an example of our city being able to set an example. And I would like just to relate to how we believe pilgrimage can play such an important role, not only because of the impact of millions of people all around the world getting up from one place and going to another because they believe that place is holy. The fact of the matter is that when the pilgrim makes his or her journey, it should be a life-transforming experience. A life-transforming experience from a spiritual viewpoint. And here is where our faiths come in. If we, in this room, believe that climate change, global warming, the environmental crisis that the earth is undergoing, the danger to God's creation, is the most serious crisis or burning issue of our time, then we are asking the faiths of the world to engage and be part of solving the problem. And if our pilgrim, when he sets out on his journey, can not only undergo a spiritual transformation, but a physical transformation, and see this as a chance for a change of lifestyle, to live more modestly, to tread more modestly on the earth, which is why the slogan of the whole network that we have undertaken is leave a positive footprint. The pilgrim traditionally goes on foot, and footprint is the term we use for the ecological damage we cause with our behavior on God's good earth. We take as our motto the words of King Solomon in the book of Kings, Kings 1, chapter 8. Solomon, when he blessed the inauguration of the temple, made one prayer among all the many blessings that he offered the children of Israel that I think is an appropriate message for the entire network, and I was privileged to quote it in the gathering at Assisi as well. Solomon turned to God at the inauguration of the temple and said a surprising thing. He didn't say, "Thank you, good Lord, for giving us this wonderful temple." He says, "I have a special prayer for you." He said, "Strangers, the stranger that shall come near, strangers that enter our temple, please hear their prayers, so that they may know you and your ways." The implications here are enormous, because this is a speech of tolerance at a time when religion's first aim was not to live cordially together on earth. And Solomon came out with this message at the inauguration of the temple, and I think we try and reinterpret it today. It's not only exhorting us to be tolerant of each other and to respect each other's pilgrimages and each other's destinations and spiritual goals, but something that I'd like to share with you, because I've just come back from the 6th World Water Forum in Marseille, whereas at the lead project of the Jerusalem Green Pilgrim Roundtable, which I'm happy to say that the Jerusalem Center for Interfaith and Interfaith Center for Sustainable Development is an active role play, and I see this conference as an expression of that, is that when we go to a place that is not a spiritual destination for ourselves, but is a spiritual destination for someone else, just as Solomon asked God to listen carefully to the prayers of non-believers when they came to his temple, we should endeavor, when we go somewhere else that is somebody else's spiritual destination, to feel some of the feeling of being uplifted that they experience when they go to their own destination. Now, I was in Marseille because of a project that our Green Roundtable, Pilgrim Roundtable, has adopted, which is the restoration of the Kidron Basin, where we have 15 million cubic meters of raw sewage pouring down into the Dead Sea on a daily basis. However, this is also the major historic pilgrim route for the three religions, the place where everyone would go down and meditate in the desert, where there are dozens of monasteries hiding in the rocks between Jerusalem and the Dead Sea. So we had a meeting at the Marseille Forum together with our Palestinian partners, saying what our solution for this sewage is, and we now know we have the blessing of the Israeli government and a willingness of the Palestinian Authority to join forces to be our partners in making sure there is an equitable solution for the sewage in the Kidron Valley, which is now a hazard and a threat to the lives of about 200,000 people, and could bring great benefit if purified and made into water that could be used for agriculture, and we could have one of the strongest pilgrim routes revived for economic prosperity for the area for all three religions. And so my last words is, when I was in Marseille, I put the philosophy of the Green Pilgrimage Network to test, and I went and ascended the steps of Notre Dame de la Garde, the famous cathedral on a hill where Our Lady of Marseille is supposed to look down on the city and protect it. And there are many steps leading up to the cathedral. And as you go up the steps, you look out to sea and you see the island of If, where the poor Count of Monte Cristo was incarcerated, and where, in fact, of course, he was never incarcerated because he never existed, but thousands of poor people were incarcerated, and we went to visit it. By the way, many of them were French Protestants who were burnt alive by their colleagues, the French Catholics, in a not very happy age of tolerance. But as I went up those steps, even all those terrible things had happened, and as you go up the steps, every 10 steps, a Station of the Cross is marked. And I thought, my goodness, I could be in the Via Dolorosa. I'm doing this somewhere else in the world, and I'm experiencing the feeling that a Christian pilgrim feels when he or she comes to our Via Dolorosa. And I understood how this principle of the Green Pilgrimage Network can be put into practice. It can be put into practice not only when we ascend the steps of such a wonderful cathedral or tread the Via Dolorosa or approach the Western Wall or the Great Mosque. It can be addressed in every tiny action of our daily lives when we think that by living our lives more sustainably, more prudently, more modestly, we are helping to preserve the creation that God gave us all and to make our world a better place. Those are the goals of the Green Pilgrim Network, and I'm happy to have shared them with you. Thank you.